This is Jake Ciely, and I'm the blown ACL that ruins your football season.
Good news, everyone! Let's get dangerous!
This is so cool!
I know!
It feels so right!
It's Jake Ciely.
I'm sorry, who is this?
Nice try, Moonman! Pretending not to know! Earth's greatest mastermind!
You just made the list!
I thought you said that was a myth.
Just because it's a myth doesn't mean it's not true.
If you all blindly follow my plan, we may have a chance!
Sure, we talk about it all the time.
Really?
No, burn.
Game on, you ducks. Let's talk Wilson week in week 12. And right out of the gate, if you had a one-start necessary situation for Emmanuel Wilson, congratulations, because it was one of the biggest days of the week. And I will say, do not drop Emmanuel Wilson. You might even get to start him this week. I know Josh Jacobs said that on paper he plans to play for Thanksgiving, but at the same time, it is a short week, and the Packers might think it'd be best to hold him out one more to give him that extra time with how Emmanuel Wilson looked. It is against the Lions. It is in Detroit, so I get it if they want Jacobs out there, but don't drop him, even if Jacobs is out there, because all it takes is an aggravation of the injury or another injury, and you saw that Wilson has some RB1 potential if he has the full lead, which he did. Moving on, because the Vikings, J.J. McCarthy is killing the Vikings. So let's talk John Mechie and Adonai Mitchell, which were deep waiver stashes, and I say that Mechie, if I could talk, Mechie is the one that I would say is more likely to be the wide receiver 4 going forward, more floor than ceiling because he plays for the Jets. Adonai Mitchell has the ceiling, but Adonai Mitchell had another game where it didn't catch most of his targets. A little bit more to do with Tyrod Taylor this time. But Mechie looks like a wide receiver 4 as the volume guy for the Jets going forward. We might actually have a little bit of Lamar Jackson concern at this point, and it looks like it's because he's not 100%. I mean, we're dealing with these leg injuries, and maybe the fact is he's playing through the injury. The rushing hasn't been there. The play hasn't been exceptional. I do think that there are better days coming if he can get back to 100%. He is still Lamar Jackson. If your trade deadline hasn't passed and somebody is full on panic mode, they do get the Bengals at home on Thursday Night Football. It might be your chance to buy low and your last chance. Now, that being said, Derrick Henry's December started early, so that's going to definitely help things for Lamar to open things up. But again, there's some concern. I can't see benching him against the Bengals, even though I've already had people text me, can I bench Lamar Jackson? No, I don't think you can. On the Bears, DJ Moore, of course, as we sabotage drop him, goes off. And if you want to pick him up, or if you still had him and you happen to start him, against the Eagles this week in Philadelphia, not a great matchup. I would argue that it is the best game we will see from DJ Moore this entire year. It was also his second game with the touchdown, and Luther Burden is continuing to eat into his opportunities. Actually, all three of the wide receivers are starting to see almost about even routes run. So it's probably going to be more like the 49ers, where you're going to get a good week from definitively one of them, maybe a second, and it's going to be frustrating from here on out. Also, a horrible schedule. The Monangai part of it is the interesting thing is that he led over DeAndre Swift. Don't know if this was somewhat injury related or whatever it might be, but it's just going to likely be more frustrating for us going forward, similar to the Seahawks situation, which it's yay for Monangai, but more so bad for Swift than yay for Monangai, as and they're both going to be RB2-3s now, unless we see this happen again against the Eagles, and Monangai does look good against the Eagles. Kenneth Gainwell eats in as we expected. Jalen Warren was a heavy lead for a couple games. The Steelers, with Warren back, gave him plenty of opportunities. He had a touchdown, but a lot of the goal line work, a lot of the opportunities for Gainwell. So it looks like we got a split going forward there, but not concerning for Warren, just more so that Gainwell falls into the RB3 flex conversation. And then another running back having a situation, Ramondre Stevenson coming back, ate in a little bit to Travion Henderson, but more so Terrell Jennings and Stevenson. They were getting goal line carries as we banged our head against the walls watching this happen, and they all got stuffed. A big fat 0 yards for that. So yay, Travion Henderson still has fringe RB1 value, but boo on the fact that we might have some touchdown variance there going forward. They do get the Giants at home this week, which is good for, honestly, Travion Henderson and Stevenson. Kayshon Boutte was back. I know that he didn't do a lot in the box score, but if you watched that game, you saw what could have been a PI with over 40 yards, a touchdown, another PI. Does get the Giants as mentioned, and he was running as the one. He is back to being running as the one. Still a wide receiver 4, boomer bust, but out there more than Stephon Diggs, more than Matt Collins, more than anybody. The Bengals, to go back to that game real quick, or that team, again, they play on Thursday night. highly doubtful that T. Higgins is out there, got concussed. So Yoshivas gets another week, who was supposed to be a 1 week play. He had a decent game, but it looks like he'll be another 1 week play, even with Jamar Chase back, although Chase might get targeted 25 times in that game. And in a super deep league, Mitchell Tinsley, especially if Joe Burrow is back, between the two of them, one of them should have a good game, even if Gesicki does things again. But Yoshivas and Tinsley, if you need some help in deeper leagues. What else do we have here? I'm going to go back to the Packers real quick. Christian Watson, as I mentioned in the video last week, why is he still out there in waivers? And hopefully you rectified that. But the only Packers wide receiver you can trust the rest of the way unless we get Jaden Reed back. Speaking of trusting wide receivers, the Tennessee Titans, Chimere DK, look, the ceiling's going to be limited. But I will say this, watching that game, and I'm not sure if you guys did, but the Seahawks defense we know is really good. Kudos to Cam Ward for his best game of his NFL career in his rookie season, but he looked good, which is saying something. He looked great. He looked good, and he looked good against the Seahawks. And DK looks to be his reliable option, similar like Jacoby Myers back in the day with the Patriots. So wide receiver 3-4, 3 in heavy bye weeks, which we have one more coming up in week 14. This week in week 13, probably more of a wide receiver 4. Although they get Jacksonville, which I'm going to bring up Greg Dortch's name later, but Greg Dortch did things over the middle, outside, after the catch. So there's some intrigue there. With the Seahawks, speaking of, Kenneth Walker did get the heavy lead over Charbonnet, even though Charbonnet got the touchdown. But hey, they telling the truth. McDonald said it, and maybe we can start trusting Kenneth Walker as an RB2, not an RB1, but as an RB2. Charbonnet still going to get some of that goal line work, so similar to Gainwell in that RB3 conversation. For the Browns, look for the Judkins update. If he is out, Dylan Sampson would step in as a fringe RB2. We don't have anybody on a bye, as mentioned. So if Judkins is back, wouldn't be too worried about it facing the 49ers, especially because they ran that Wildcat twice for 2 touchdowns and pulled Sanders off the field. But we know what Judkins is. Sampson would be the pickup if he's out. Similarly, if Genty is out, Raheem Mostert would be the pickup. I would lean Sampson over Mostert just because I'm not certain of, one, I would actually take the Browns offense over the Raiders. And then 2, if Mostert would get the work that Sampson would, and I know that might be speculative to some people, given Jerome Ford, but I think at this point it is Sampson. Mostert would be the lead, but 50%, and then splitting the rest was Zamir White and somebody, maybe Laube. But whatever it might be, Sampson over Mostert, but both of them could be pickups if both Judkins and Genty are out. Darnell Mooney paid off late in that game, yay, but don't count on it every single week. Will be our wide receiver 4, boom or bust. Kirk Cousins was Kirk Cousins and doesn't like using Kyle Pitts too much. Some targets, but a lot of them missed at times too, so Kyle Pitts is still Kyle Pitts. The Saints, Alvin Kamara left. Devin Neal would step in, but Devin Neal did some work in the passing game, which was nice to see. Low-end RB2 if there's no Alvin Kamara. 1 is the Saints offense, another offense I don't trust too much, and 2, Devin Neal has looked not as good as I expected him to as a rookie. And then Taysom Hill got 10 carries out of the backfield. So Taysom Hill, there you go at tight end, potential code breaker yet again, and now the rushing way instead of the receiving way. And before we get out of here, Jacksonville and Cardinals. Jacksonville Jaguars. Tootin is not splitting apparently, and then watch them go right back to it this week against the Titans. Point being, Travis Etienne, just trust him as an RB2, but there will be some boomer bust play with Bashal Tootin. I think everybody was expecting more of a 50-50 split after that's what we saw last week before Tootin got hurt. And then it wasn't this week. So good news, though. Brenton Strange is back and looked good. I do think he'll get dinged if Brian Thomas Jr. is back, which will also ding Parker Washington. But Brenton Strange, high-end tight end 2 if Thomas is back, in the tight end 1 conversation if he's not. Parker Washington in the wide receiver 3 conversation if there's no Brian Thomas. And then if Brian Thomas is back, basically like a wide receiver 5 because Jacoby Myers has secured his spot as a top 2 option now that he's fully into the fold. And then as mentioned before, Greg Dortch looked good in this game. As long as Marvin Harrison is out, Michael Wilson top 20, Greg Dortch playable as a wide receiver 3 or 4. And then if Marvin Harrison comes back, Greg Dortch, goodbye, see ya, that was fun. And then Michael Wilson is a wide receiver 3 still because, no, Jacoby Brissett didn't throw 57 times, but he still threw 49. And I don't know how much is this going to change for the Arizona Cardinals, especially, look, they head to Tampa Bay next week. So there you go. And lastly, we have the Rams and Bucks. And Kyron Williams, if your trade deadline hasn't passed, is a great buy low, mostly because, 1, it was the Buccaneers' run defense you have to worry about. And that's actually worrisome for RB2, 3s matchups and stuff like that. And as you can see, limited Kyron Williams, but also because the Rams' game plan was just to pass twice as much as they run. So Kyron Williams, good buy low, is a good day for the Rams, bad day for the Buccaneers, pretty much all around. Baker Mayfield, if he's out, is obviously going to hurt Igbokwe and the rest. Godwin's first game back, mostly 3 wide. Better days coming, maybe, if he's 100%. Have to continue to watch to see how he looks, but Igbokwe could be struggling going forward. 2 reasons. One, in this game, Forbes needs a lot of respect when we're talking about matchups going forward against the Rams and so far this season. But Igbokwe is definitely having a second half kind of, if people want to call it the rookie slump or whatever it is, it's just not the first half we enjoyed, and especially if Bridgewater is under center, it's not going to be as good as it was with Baker Mayfield, and that goes for all the pass catchers. And for the running backs, as we wrap it up, Rachaad White and Sean Tucker both had a tough day against the Rams defense. Their run defense is worth being a tie-break consideration if it's bad enough, depending on who you're deciding to play at running back. But more so, we're going to have to see how this plays out. Rachaad White got more run because it was a pass-happy game script as the game went on. Sean Tucker was the lead. But who's going to be the number 2 with Bucky Irving back? You would think Sean Tucker's proven enough, but if they still want Rachaad White for the pass-catching upside, even though Bucky Irving has his own, we're going to have to see. Basically, probably avoid both in Irving's first game back, but again, something we'll have to see. Oh, and by the way, Will Campbell done for the season, and Travion Henderson, to go back to that game, was having a tough sled of it, including, obviously, Stevenson and Jennings. But Travion Henderson, maybe not quite a fringe RB1 with the loss of Campbell. Actually, I think they lost 2 offensive line in that game, but especially Campbell, torn MCL and done for the year. So bad news to finish things out. A lot of bad news to finish things out. Well, good news. Good. Thanksgiving week. Let's be happy that we have full football. And, wow, 4 days of it. Thursday, Black Friday, Sunday, Monday. A lot of football, a lot of Thanksgiving, a lot of food, a lot of side dishes in this week. So, oh, by the way, one more thing. I don't even know if you're listening at this point, but I'm trying to sell the second pair of tickets that Jay Felicio was supposed to go to Saturday Night Main Event to see John Cena's final match. I don't know if you guys are wrestling fans, but if you are interested in, they're not cheap. But if you're interested in going, hit me up. Like, email me, Jay Ciely, over at The Athletic. And because if you see me on Twitter, I might not see your message because Twitter's Twitter these days. Anyway, rambled long enough. If you want to go, hit me up. Okay, goodbye.